Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All Day Football Show. I'm your host, Jackson Kellogg, and today we'll be getting into Game Picks Week 5 version. Can't believe we're at Week 5 already. Still hard to believe, but getting right into it. So last week's results, I went 9-6, so not too bad. Definitely could have done a bit better though. So that puts my total season record at 39, 23-1. Why couldn't the Eagles just lose to the Bengals? Upset win of the week goes to the Panthers for beating the Cardinals pretty dominantly. Definitely did not expect that to happen. And team that I'm not surprised with was the Buccaneers getting a late but dominant end of the game against the Chargers, as they scored, I think, like 35 unanswered for a bit. And teams on bye for this week include the Lions and the Packers. So Thursday Night Football tonight, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the road against the Chicago Bears. The Bears decided to make Foles the full-time starter, and that hasn't looked well in 1 week of play, as he could not get anything going against the Colts defense, and the Buccaneers are starting to pick up their strides. They're dealing with a decent amount of injuries on the offensive side of the ball, but they are figuring out, as Brady is their quarterback there, so in Brady they trust, and as do I with picking the Buccaneers to win tonight against the Bears. I just don't think the Bears are going to be able to put an offense together against this crazy good Buccaneers defense. Starting off with our Sunday games, I have Chiefs versus the Raiders. The Raiders were looking good at the start of the season. You know, they won a pretty dominant offensive good win against the Panthers. Then they had a good dominant win against the Saints. But then they've lost 2 straight against the Patriots and the Bills. They've been sloppy, have been turnover prone, and it's not looking good for them. And the Chiefs have come off a good win against the Patriots. Definitely was very sloppy for the Chiefs offensively. The defense carried them in that game. I do give this to the Chiefs, though, just for the fact that the Raiders are dealing with some injuries on the defensive side of the ball, and I don't think that the secondary that they're going to put out there is going to be able to handle the Chiefs' offense. Patriots Broncos. So yesterday on Boston Tea Party podcast, I talked about how will the team be able to do without Cam Newton as the starter. Are they going to play Stidham? How will Stidham do? But from what it seems like, the NFL changed the rules with COVID, where if you're asymptomatic, you don't have to wait 5 days anymore. You just have to have back-to-back negative tests 24 hours apart from when you first tested positive. So based off of those rulings, Cam Newton just needs 2 negative tests before Sunday's game to be able to play. So if he tests positive today, but at this time on Friday he tests negative, and at this time Saturday he tests negative, he can play Sunday. Will it happen? Who knows? I don't think the Patriots are going to need Cam Newton for this game, or Stephon Gilmore for that matter, who's going to be out because of COVID as well. The Broncos had a close win against the Jets, partially due to the fact that the Broncos are low on offensive weapons right now, and the defense has also dealt with their fair share of injuries as well. And I don't think the offense is going to be able to put up anything consistent. They're not going to be able to have consistent scoring drives or even consistent ball movement against the Patriots defense. Bengals Ravens. Joey Burrow gets his first win against the Jaguars last week, as the Ravens get a bounce back win against Washington. Not too much to go over here. Ravens are going to come through with the win. The Bengals don't have the defense built to stop the Ravens offense. The Ravens are just going to rotate through their running backs, and it's going to be just like last year's games against the Bengals, where Lamar Jackson's going to juke out that whole defense. Jaguars Texans. This will be the Texans' first game without Bill O'Brien, and I think it is going to matter to the point where the Texans will get a win here. The Jaguars have looked shaky the last couple games. after their dominant win against the Colts in Week 1, they haven't played up to that hype since. And the Texans at an 0-4 start are going to look to be trying to climb back up into competition for a wild card and possibly the division based off of how the rest of them plays. Cardinals Jets, there's not really much to say here. The Jets couldn't pull out a win against a broken down Broncos team. And the only bright side for them is surprisingly Sam Darnold right now. And the Cardinals have come off 2 straight losses that were expected to be wins. Not a good look for the Cardinals after having 2 dominant wins at the start of the season. I do give this to the Cardinals, though, for the mere fact that the Jets are like a Division II college team playing in the NFL. So that's just how it goes. Jets not going to come away with a win this season unless they fire Adam Gase and figure out what to do with that team. Steelers-Eagles, this would have been a good matchup, like looking back a couple months ago. If the Eagles weren't super injury-prone and not talented at all, and that's just for that reason, that's going to make it so the Steelers get a good win here. The Steelers' defense is going to have an easy going against a banged-up Eagles offense. That defensive line is going to be in Carson Wentz's face all day long, and Ben Roethlisberger is going to have all the time in the world to throw, and he's going to hit dimes to open receivers because that Eagles secondary is just a pile of garbage. Panthers-Falcons. The Panthers have slowly been building a pretty nice team this season. They're getting more and more wins. They 2-2 right now. Looking up, it's looking brighter for them. Whereas the Falcons are 0-4, and they have all been, or 3 of the 4 have been great offensive performances, but lackluster defensive performances, as that defense cannot get a stop on any offense, no matter who it is. But I think that ends today. I think Sunday. I think the Falcons offense scores enough points to be able to hold off the Panthers, because the Panthers scored pretty consistently against the Cardinals last week. That's because the Cardinals' defense is absolutely atrocious, which I don't understand why I have them on my fantasy football team, but I do. The Falcons are going to just throw the ball all over the place against this Panthers defense. Rams-Washington, battle of the new logos. Definitely going to be an interesting game. The Washington football team benched Dwayne Haskins earlier this week, and not just like, oh, you're the backup. No, they put him behind Alex Smith, who shouldn't be playing in the league anymore. So not a good look for Dwayne Haskins. Poor guy is going to become the next Josh Rosen. Rams had a close win against the Giants, but I think they pulled back in this game. The Washington's starting Kyle Allen, and I don't think he's going to be able to perform well with the offensive weapons that the Washington football team has. And the Rams defense is just going to smother that Washington offense. Colts-Browns. This is going to be a pretty interesting game. It's 2 teams that are doing better than people's expectations, I feel like. Or at least they're doing better than my expectations. Have I been rooting the Browns for the last 2 years? Yes. Does it mean I think that they were going to be like some crazy unbeatable team? No. But the Browns have looked good, other than the blowout loss they had to the Ravens in Week 1. And the Colts have done nothing but win since their one loss in Week 1 as well to the Jaguars. Now, my only issue here is that the Colts haven't beaten any quote-unquote like dominant good teams. They beat the Vikings, they beat the Jaguars, and they just beat the Bears. 3 teams that do not have winning records. You haven't, other than the Vikings, you haven't really expected those teams to do well this year. The Browns have beaten the likes of The Cowboys last year, they beat Washington pretty dominantly. And I forget who their week 2 win was against. Oh, the Bengals. All those wins were dominant, good offensive performances, and the defense is slowly coming together for the Browns, despite that fourth quarter almost comeback by the Cowboys. So for that, I do give this to the Browns. I think the Browns offense is finally figuring themselves out, and once they do and Nick Chubb comes back and healthy, it's going to be a very hard offense to beat, and I don't think the Colts defense is going to be able to handle it. 49ers Dolphins. This is a battle of a team that's still trying to figure out its identity against a team that is throwing out its second teamers because of the amount of injuries that they have. Nick Mullins is probably benched. CJ Beathard is most likely going to be the starter. Even with that, I'm going to give the Niners the win. Their team is slowly starting to get healthier. Although Bosa and Solomon Thomas are out for the year, the rest of their roster is slowly starting to come back, and they're just going to get stronger and stronger. And I think this is a good chance for this Niners depth to show that they are talented against a team like the Dolphins. Giants-Cowboys, the battle of the winless and the should-be winless if the Falcons didn't know how to choke leads or recover an onside kick. Although these teams have very similar records, it doesn't mean that they play very similarly, as the Cowboys have 10 times a better team than the Giants do. Because if you look at this Cowboys offense, it's a top 3 offense, and it has performed like so in the last couple weeks, despite a couple miscues and with fumbles. But they definitely put up points, they put up yards. You know, Dak threw for 500 yards in a game, and they still lost. That's not a good look for this team. But I think the Cowboys have a chance to show what they can really do against this Giants team, and it gives a good chance for the defense to work on their play against a lackluster offense in Danny Dimes. Sunday Night Football in Vikings-Seahawks. The Seahawks had a close win against the Dolphins, definitely a lot closer than I expected it to be. And Minnesota came through and beat Houston on the road. It was a good performance by them. Kind of got a little lucky at the end of that game with the Will Fuller non-touchdown. I do give this to the Seahawks because Russell Wilson, the way he's playing and the way the Vikings secondary has been this season, it's not a good matchup for the Vikings right now. They played well against the Texans for the mere fact that their offense is filled with a bunch of complementary receivers, and you can't complement a compliment. You need talent to complement, or you need talent to have a complement to go with it. So that's why the Vikings just mixed up their stuff and didn't have to worry about a bona fide top receiver to deal with. Now they're playing the Seahawks, who have 2 of them in Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, and have good complementary receivers at the same time in receivers like David Moore. So the Seahawks defense just has to play a little bit better, especially in the secondary, so that receivers on the Vikings like Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson don't run all over them. But I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be able to get it going against the Seahawks. Monday Night Football. This is the Saints' second Monday Night Football game of the year. The last one was a not so good looking loss to the Raiders. They're slowly starting to put this team together. The Lions had a 14-point lead on them, but the Saints went and scored 35 straight to come away with the win against the Lions. The Chargers have played okay at times, and they've also looked atrocious at times. So they're being very inconsistent right now. Justin Herbert has looked good, not great. He definitely knows how to throw the ball. He just has to be a better decision maker. But this is not the game to work on those issues, as the Saints, though their secondary hasn't played the greatest this year, the Saints are still a good football team led by a great quarterback and future Hall of Famer Drew Brees. And Sean Payton is an underrated coach. He knows what he's doing. The Saints offense, once they get Michael Thomas back, they're going to be back to normal and just kicking butt. And the defense just has to play pretty average, and they'll always have a shot in every game, and most likely coming away with a win. Now, I did not talk about one game that's scheduled to play 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, and that would be the Buffalo Bills on the road against the Tennessee Titans. Now, last week the Titans had their game postponed because they had somewhere around a dozen COVID cases before they were playing the Steelers, so they pushed that game to week 7. Now, since then, the Titans' cases at the moment are at 23 positive cases. 23 different people between players, coaches, personnel, trainers, 23 positive cases. And you may be wondering, the Patriots have 3 cases, and 2 are because 2 of them went out to dinner together. Don't really know how the third happened. But other than that, no breakout there. Chiefs had a practice squad player get case. No one else there so far. I think I saw that the Raiders had a positive pop, but that's because they haven't really been following guidelines either, but it hasn't spread. The Titans have had more cases than the rest of the league has had combined, and that is due to the fact that they were caught having practices and trainings and workouts when they were not supposed to. So their facilities were closed during the past week because of COVID, or because of their COVID cases. What they decided to do was they went to a high school field and had their workouts there, and they were caught and are now under investigation by the league for those violations against the COVID protocols, and will most likely be hit with a very, very large penalty, which could possibly include fines, loss of picks, and a possible forfeit this weekend against the Bills. So the Bills game, this game is going to be, as of right now, it's still playing, but it's very doubtful that it will continue. I doubt it's going to be moved. They're going to have a hard time trying to move this game, and the Bills are most likely going to fight it. So this game might very well be a forfeit for the Titans. And even if it somehow magically does play, these Titans have had so many players pop positive that even if they put out a team, the Bills are still going to be able to demolish it because they're going to be so low on players. Not official practices have been happening. It's not a good look for the Titans, as the Titans are about to be one of the most hated teams, if not the most hated team, ahead of the Patriots in the league right now. So not a good look for the league, not a good look for the Titans. And if the game happens, even if it's not a forfeit, Bills come away with the win. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe if you aren't already. Leave a like. It would be greatly appreciated. Hope you all enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day. Be sure to watch tonight's game in Thursday Night Football of the Buccaneers at the Chicago Bears. Going to be an interesting game. Again, hope you all have a great evening, and better be rooting for those Patriots on Sunday.